The Unscrewed Mind.
Welcome to the Unscrewed Mind, episode 31, and we are going to be talking about how to manifest and get started with manifesting your wildest dreams. And this is just going to be a playbook that me and Matt have put together, and we're going to talk about what things we think, top 5 things that we think that you should do to get started on your journey. And if you're already into the law of attraction, this will just be a good refresher because everyone knows that you can't get enough of the information once you start getting it because you're always learning.
Yep.
So the number one thing on the list is going to be set your goals. Second thing is maintain happiness and have a grateful attitude towards things is number 3. Number 4 is being open-minded. And number 5 is take action on the things that you have set up in place that you're wanting to do. So let's just go right into setting your goals. And this is a topic that gets pretty broad, so we'll try to keep it tight because there is so many different ways to do this, so many different processes, and we've talked about it on how to manifest and a couple of other podcasts. We've mentioned it. There's so many different ideas out there. And the great news is any of them will work, but it's more about which one you become more comfortable with and you're able to consistently do.
Right. Right. What do you think? What's your method for coming up with what your goals are? You've done a lot over the past 5 years. You've accomplished a lot. I just wonder, how do you decide what you want to attack or what you want to go after? That's one thing that I've always struggled with, is determining what I would like to do and then going out there and doing it. So instead of setting a goal and striving to accomplish it, a lot of times I spent a lot of my life just sitting there waiting for something to happen without any real direction at all. So if there's someone out there that's sitting there and they don't know what they want to do and they don't know where to go, like what would you say to them, or what would you tell them to make that process easier?
Well, part of focusing in spirituality or the law of attraction is all about not focusing on what you don't want. However, in this phase, I would say that figuring out what you don't want and what you do want is what's the most important step. And I've talked to a lot of different people, Matt being one of them in the beginning, and talking about, what do you want? And so many people come back with, I don't know what I want. There's nothing that I want. I've already got this. Some people are extremely happy with their life currently, and they're like, I don't have any goals written down. There's no reason for me to have goals written down because everything's going good. And that's something I really don't understand because I've always had a big picture in mind that I'm moving towards. And so that doesn't really resonate with me. However, what does is identifying the things that you don't like about your life currently. So writing down the question that's my favorite is what do you feel about your accomplishments so far in your life and where you're at? How do you feel about that? And then answering that question and then answering it again right afterwards, because your ego and everything that you've been programmed with, your paradigm, answers the question for you the first time. And it gives you're like, well, I wish I would have made more money. And then your ego's like, but you're making more money than these people, or you're doing better than this, or you're doing that. So really great identifier straight off the bat to let you know how you really feel versus what your reactionary answer is to it. It's like an autopilot answer versus a truly thinking about it answer. So I think that those are really great steps to identify them. And, I would say that me and Matt specifically talked about what he was interested in doing probably 4 or 5 times before. It was probably more than that, but 4 or 5 times we'll say. Yeah.
4 or 5,000.
Yeah. But it's internal conversations with myself that have gone on for many years. Is you get on a path, you're moving towards that goal, and you get lost, and it's there, but you're not actively maybe moving towards it on a daily basis. And that's where setting these goals and setting them, don't set them too small. That's what a lot of people do. But at the same time, maybe you need proof of this working. So maybe you do need a smaller goal to start with.
Yeah. And, everyone needs a reason to celebrate. So I would definitely say set some larger overarching goals and then some milestones along the way that you can stop and take a deep breath and feel really good about.
Right.
One thing that I think really helped me, especially early when it came to not having a direction or not really having a goal, was obviously I had conversations with you, Rusty, but then also too, I started spending more time in silence and with myself. And that was through, breathing exercises and meditation.
Yeah.
And it's during that time that I was surprised at how often my thoughts would wander, but also too, coming out of that, how inspired I was or how motivated I was to write down these thoughts or these dreams or these ambitions, and then coming back to what I've written later on to kind of read through what all's there is where things like this podcast and where the YouTube channel and some of the inspiration for the videos that we do, the website that we're developing, all of that comes from being in silence, kind of being by myself and thinking about what I want to do. And then the other thing too is having someone in your life that's of the same mindset or has similar goals or moving in the same direction. You and I talk and we have similar mindset. Because of that, we're a hive mind basically, and I can bounce ideas off of you, and you'll do the same thing with me. And then I think we kind of plot our course together and take some of that burden off or some of the heavy lifting off of just one person trying to move the pile all by themselves.
Yeah. And that's a good point too, is set goals with your family, set goals with people that you work with, form that mastermind that you're working together on. But at the same time, do not have an expectation out of that person because you set a goal together, because it's just not a helpful activity. Because if you're expecting that person to do something and they're not doing it, and you think that that's preventing you from getting to your goal, then you're going to be in an endless loop of pain if you're doing that.
And the ego's already really good at blaming other people for your problems, so don't give it any more ammunition.
Yeah. Okay. So when maintaining happiness, those two definitely stand apart from grateful and happiness stand apart in my mind, because happiness is going to be more coming into, it's like a live emotion to me. I mean, gratefulness is too, but when I think of happiness, I think of just doing something that makes you happy. And so focusing on things that you like to do. And when I'm assuming that the majority of people are going to be making goals that focus on things that make them happy. So, and that's one thing to think about when you're setting those goals is this goal to make me happy, or is this goal to make someone else happy?
Yeah.
And that, I think a lot of people do those things, and because, a parent or a family member or just people that they've met have had an idea of a job or a career or whatever it is that would make them happy that they haven't done. And they make that suggestion to you, and then you run with it.
Right.
So, just happiness about just do the things that make you happy currently, and make sure that those things negative aren't negative to you. And what I mean is if you find happiness in, um, whatever alcohol or whatever it is, but you have the idea or the thought process of this is actually doing something bad to me, then you can't, it won't work, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Because you've got conflicting thoughts in your mind about it, and that's going to cause you not to be able to progress in happiness, if that makes sense. Does that make sense, Matt?
It does sense to me. As someone who enjoys alcohol, but has like, and I don't abuse it or anything, but I have this feeling of guilt afterwards for some reason. Then obviously, we're not a vibrational match, and it's not doing me any good. So I should consider, um, letting that go. And it's definitely something that I've made strides to do over the past year and a half, and I'm a much better person for it. I want to talk about. I think now's a good time to talk about how being happy and maintaining happiness is important from a law of attraction standpoint because of the law of vibration, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's important to be happy because that frequency attracts through the law more things for you to be happy for. And that's important. And then while I was preparing for this podcast episode today, I was thinking about something that Abram says when she talks about being in alignment and how you use your emotional
Mm-hmm.
guidance system to kind of tell where you're at. Things that are in alignment with your goals and things that are from the source make you feel good. So if you have an overall feeling of goodness or happiness, you're in alignment with your path and you're going the direction that you need to be. And if you're feeling terrible or upset or guilty, then you're out of alignment and you're not doing what you should be. And that's kind of how you can tell if you're moving in the
Yeah.
right direction. And then another thing I wrote down too is if you wake up feeling happy, watch that feeling of happiness throughout the day. And then at what point do you start feeling not happy? You know? And is it at the same time every day? And is it doing the same things every day? And is there a pattern in your life that's leading to this unhappy moment? Maybe we should figure out a way to get rid of whatever's creating that unhappiness. And I've been there where within 5 minutes of waking up, I have this feeling of dread because I know what's coming. And that's just such a terrible existence. You've either got to live your life without whatever that is, or you have to accept it, let go of it in some way, shape, or form, and find a way to be happy around it. And
Right.
that's when your energy will start to line up, and you'll start being better at manifesting the things that you want.
Yeah. And anybody that's listening that hasn't listened to Abram Hicks before, she's really good at focusing on a vibrational, um, focusing on a happy vibration, grateful vibration. And, some people don't agree with her. And I think it's okay that you don't agree with every person about every piece of information that's out there, but take the things that are good and don't just dismiss somebody because you don't like the presentation of it or whatever it is, because everyone is giving out information that can be useful to you and your journey. And you may have not even found that information because that information is seeking you just as you were seeking it. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
um, it's pretty crazy to think about it that way, but I think it's a good way to think about it. And number three, gratefulness. This one is huge for me. I really led a very ungrateful life. I wasn't happy about so many situations in my life. And, on the outside, that's not how I portrayed myself. But, a lot of people will show a different side on the outside than what they are on the inside. And gratefulness is so overlooked by our society because it's pushed to do the next, do the next, do the next thing. And you're never sitting in that moment of accomplishment for more than a few seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And, just writing a list of 20 things that you're grateful for, whether it's your family, your house, just your ability to be able to go do something, go somewhere, see something, being able to talk, hear, see, all those kind of things. You don't think about that unless you're kind of nudged to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And once you start thinking about it, it's almost kind of upsetting to feel that you're grateful for something now in this moment, but you've never really acknowledged being grateful for it before. And I'm not saying that I was not grateful for anything. I think that's a little far to say that, but
Yeah.
just wasn't really analyzing um, my situation or the things that have happened for me in my life. And everything up until now, I can look back on and I can connect the dots on exactly how it happened and my thought process to get there, and how easy or hard it was determined by the way that I felt about it 100% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, being grateful, being happy are going to propel you into a higher vibration and also just make you feel better on a daily basis. And being grateful for the things that haven't come is something that is really great to do as well, because you're reprogramming your current paradigm to start seeing positive things instead of negative things, and you're rejecting the negative. So, Matt, you got anything additional to add on that?
The
The meditation is good, I know, too.
Yeah, the thing that I always go back to, and that if you've done any reading on the law of attraction or manifesting, they tell you to do this, is to get a journal and write. You can sit there and you can list 25 to 100 things in your head, but there's something about the written word that just has more power. So write it down, and then maybe you don't write it down in the middle of the day, but you can go back to that list and read it, and maybe put a smile on your face. And I just really think that happiness and gratitude, if you can start your day that way, and let that be your energy from the moment you get up, you're going to go a lot further than if you wake up with that sense of dread and you don't try and do anything about it. So 2
Right.
and 3, super, I think they're really important. And even more important to start your day off with those, to get out of bed on the right foot.
All right. So number 4 on the list is open minded. And I didn't see this on a ton of lists that are out there of things, but I think this is super crucial because how many times are you going to be judging what you're listening to from your old paradigm versus what you're trying to move into? So somebody's telling you something that somebody else has told you is bogus, or it's not right, or you're not going to get anything if you do that. So you're having all of these thoughts, or what is this person doing that is telling me this information? They're not doing what I want to do, or they don't have what I want. But it really doesn't matter what level you are. I think of this from a financial stance, because there's going to be people that are millionaires and there's going to be people that are, making minimum wage. And both people can benefit just the same as the other from the law of attraction and from spirituality change. So you can't discount yourself because of your situation currently. You
Mm-hmm.
have to block out, erase, just don't let your past interfere with your present is the main thing. And that goes into shadow work and all kind of other things, but just have an open mind when you're listening to anybody else that's out there or reading information. Just think about it and don't necessarily react to it is, I guess, the best way that I could say that.
That's great advice. And I would also add that if you're setting a goal, it's something that you don't have yet, or it's exceeding what you've done so far and it's unknown ground for you. Being
Mm-hmm.
open-minded allows you to accept the things that come your way without judging it, like you said. And
Yep.
I think the law of attraction kind of speaks to the fact that you're giving power to an unknown source of power, the universe, and you're saying, hey, this is what I want, bring it to me,
Yep.
and you have to let go of your limiting beliefs on how that's supposed to get to you. So you got to be open-minded about how it's going to happen. And then you have to be open-minded and willing to accept the people that come into your life that are going to help you get there. Because you don't know what that looks like. So I think open-minded is, being open-minded is the key. And then Carrie likes to talk about a Michael Singer book that she read that changed her life, and it was the Surrender Experiment. And if you haven't read it, and Rusty, if you haven't heard about it, you may get the audiobook and check it out. But he talks about his life story and how one day he decided he was just going to say yes to whatever the universe brought his way, and his
Mm-hmm.
life went from already kind of crazy to just unbelievably crazy. It's almost like a Disney movie how much kind of random stuff happened to make his life better and better. And it's
Yeah.
all because he let go of the thought that he had to be in control of everything, and he was open-minded when things came to him, and he just said yes. I really think step number 4 is as important as all of them, and we kind of messed around with putting that at number 1 because you have to be open-minded to accept the fact that you can manifest what you want anyway.
Right.
So very
and
cool, very
and
interesting.
then keeping in mind that you're already manifesting currently.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have any goals set in place, and you're not taking any action or doing any of the steps necessary to hit the goal that you're really wanting or that you just set.
Yeah.
So and being open-minded about other individuals, I think, is really important point that you just made. You said, who you could be talking to. uh, if you're the type of person that thinks that you know the answer to everything and you're dismissing what others are saying, then you're going to be holding yourself back 100% because other people have done the things that you're wanting to do, or they have the things that you want. And so listening to the way that they got there is nothing but a benefit to you.
Mm-hmm.
And watching how other people interact is something that's great to do as well. But at the same time, I'm not saying not to think for yourself and make decisions on your own, because no two people have identical goals.
Right.
So you're going to cut a path that no one else has ever done before. And I mean that is in, if you're wanting to open a business that does whatever, it is not the exact same business as someone else that's doing that. And there's a differentiating point of your business as well. So that's why we think open-mindedness is so important.
And when
Uh,
you say that, it makes me think of before we move on to take action number 5. Oh, I just let the cat out the bag. It's it's interesting to think about how we're in a constantly expanding universe,
mm-hmm.
and just because it seems like there's not a whole lot of space, the universe is constantly expanding, so there's always space for one more. And
Mm-hmm.
you make a great point about how you're the differentiator. So even if it's similar, there's something about you that's different, and that's what's going to make the difference. So give it a shot, basically.
And these goals and these things go for relationships with people too. And know that if one of your goals is to meet somebody or be in business with somebody or create something with someone else, and you don't know who that person is right now, just know that that person is also seeking you currently. So that's why you have to have an open mind. about meeting others, because that person could be right there in front of you and they're looking for someone to maybe initiate the conversation about what you're wanting to do, or, maybe they're going to initiate the conversation with you. You don't know, but it's something that's really helped me out because I was pretty closed-minded on a lot of things. But you'll also see that you're going to meet people that just repeat things that they've been repeated to them. So also, at some point, you don't want to pick up a paradigm also. But so number 5 is take action. And this is probably the most important thing to do on anything is, okay, so could you manifest $1 million into your mailbox and you just walk out there and get it and it's over? If that's what you're wanting, if you're wanting more money.
Technically.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So you could most definitely. However, can you reprogram your thought process to think that people get $1 million in their mailbox for no reason? That's really the only question you have to ask yourself.
And, that limit has been programmed into your mind for, depending on how old you are, 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's got deep roots in your subconscious. So I wish you luck. And if you figure it out, hit me up on Twitter, send me a private message and let me know how you did it.
Yeah. So, if you've got an internal thought process that in order for you to get this job, in order for you to hit this goal, is for you to follow step 1, 2, 3, and 4, and that's the only way to get there, you are not going to get there any other way. And that's why so many people Bob talks about, is set a goal, but don't write down specific actions that you have to take in order to get there. Just set the goal, know that you're going to get to the goal, but you don't know how you're going to get there. And that, I think that's a key phrase. You don't know how you're going to get there, because you probably are sitting there thinking, oh, I know how I'm going to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And so many times I've had to readjust my thought process, readjust my goal, change everything up, because I'm sitting there putting roadblocks in my way that have nothing to do with anything.
Well, and then if it doesn't go the exact way you want it to, then you start to feel bad about why things aren't going the way you want them to. And it's like a cycle. And that cycle leads to you quitting. And I want to go back to the $1 million in the mailbox, because I thought of this. Even if you could manifest the money into the mailbox, you still got to get up and go to the mailbox and get it.
Yeah.
That's taking action.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is what we are really wanting when we're setting these goals is the experience that leads into that goal. So it's what makes life enjoyable, because if you were able to have everything right now today, you need to have that feeling for sure, because you're going to be as happy as it gets, and you're going to be grateful, because if you already have the feeling of having, then you're receiving it. Then you're in the receiving mode of that thing. Mm-hmm. However, if you really did take it just all at once, you wouldn't be able to say, you won't believe what happened. I met this person, this happened. The whole process is a process because of the enjoyment that it brings.
This reality is all about experiencing everything that life has to offer. You know, it's not about just snapping your fingers and getting what you want.
And that, the Dolores Cannon, listening to that, you're coming here as a way to repay karma and past life regression stuff is so interesting. And there's just so many different directions that you can go with every one of the short topics that we've talked about today. And with manifesting, there's a million different possibilities for you. So the main thing is find something that you feel comfortable with, but maybe not too comfortable, because you've still got to have that open-minded mentality, and just start working towards those things on a daily basis. And if you don't achieve something by a date that you set, don't be frustrated. Just move the date and know that it's coming.
The Unscrewed Mind.